shower time, Adderall, a glass of whiskey, and diesel jeans.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is...
Morning.
Somewhere! For October 23rd, 2024. I got that. That timing on that one was off, and I still got it. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there, flying first class from the bedroom to her seat. It's Ashley Burns. How you doing, Ashley?
That's a short haul flight.
How you been, baby? It's good to see you again.
It's really good to have you home. Really good to have you home. I've missed you very much.
I'm glad to be home. I went off to a place called America. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's where I was for the last few days.
Yeah, how's everything going over there? Sounds kind of wild.
It's great. Did you keep up with any of the current events when I was gone? Like, I went over there. Did you read about the game or anything like that?
Let's see. Was it some kind of soccer match? It was football?
Well, all you need to know is this. I went and saw a football game with the Texas Longhorns versus the University of Georgia. And Texas won. It was great. It was so great. Texas destroyed them. And they were super polite about the way they did it, and everything was wonderful.
Is that why your voice is still a little bit harsh from cheering on the boys and all their successes?
It's that, and also just like it's my first day back, and I just had one of those days where I was traveling, and it's basically 24 hours of travel, 4 hours of which is spent in London Heathrow Airport, because when I land here, I have to fly up to either Aberdeen or Inverness, and it's like there's not a flight on a regular basis. Seems like in Austin, there's a flight to Dallas like every hour on the hour. I don't know why they don't have that here. I guess
that's true, but that's also a half-hour flight. You don't even get to cruising altitude. They basically pull out the trolley, wheel it past you, and then put it away again because it's time to descend.
It's like a parabola. You just go up and then down.
Yes.
They could achieve the same thing with a catapult, basically. There is no cruising up there whatsoever.
Do you get assigned seating on a catapult?
It's did you read that Southwest is going to assign seating after all this time?
I read that. I think they announced that a little while ago. Have they actually put that into effect?
I have no idea. I'm not going to fly Southwest. It's been too much. I can't go back. The no assigned seating. I can't hang with that. I can't.
All right. So how was America?
It was good. It was really good. I went and voted. That's one of the things that I did. The election is going on now, and I can't tell you. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this feel the same way. I can't tell you how much I am ready for political campaigning to end, assuming that the election, at the very least, ends the campaigning. I don't know that it will. I think a lot of people are looking at the election as a finish line. It's not going to be a finish line for America. I mean, I think you're going to have the day after Election Day, you're going to have half the country mad and scared, and nothing will have been fixed.
Yeah, it's really about just bringing on the next quarter, right? You're like, we're going to get to halftime here.
Yeah, we're all taking knees at this point, kind of running out the clock, just before halftime.
Get a final play in. Let's send him to McDonald's.
And everyone in the background is like, just fucking throw it, But no, too much can go wrong at this point. I will say that the latest thing, the whole week I was there, the thing that everybody wanted to talk about, it wasn't even a week. I was there like 4 days. Everyone's talking about this stupid McDonald's thing. This is it for me. It's just so stupid. And people are just like, they can't not engage with this dumb fucking story about who worked at McDonald's, who fake worked at McDonald's. Who gives a shit?
You know who comes out of this looking amazing, though, is McDonald's. Because everyone is talking about McDonald's, and both of the presidential candidates are now like, I've worked at McDonald's. I've done a stupid stunt pretending to work at McDonald's. Look at McDonald's, everybody. Like, McDonald's has somehow accidentally become some kind of linchpin in this election cycle. How?
That's the weird thing about it. First, they go after Kamala for like saying she worked at McDonald's, I guess, and then not actually working at McDonald's. I mean, who cares? And then Trump goes and works there for a day. And then the weirdest thing happened where people are like, they figured out that it was fake, that they closed the McDonald's and he didn't actually serve any customers. And actually, it was fake. The president didn't actually work at McDonald's. Well, no fucking shit. Why would anyone think that's a real thing? Do they think he went and applied for a job?
He filled out his W-2.
Right. He got his I-9 and his W-2 and then I can't work on Mondays and things like that. Of course it was fake. Why wouldn't it be fake? Do people think that was a real fucking thing? He's the president. Let me tell you something. Anytime the president interacts with the public, it's fake, whatever it is. It's completely controlled and fake. Here's what I understand about the people who the cult who hates Trump. Why have they not figured out that's what his base loves, is he gets you mad all the time. And you talk about him all the time. Why has nobody figured that out over 12 years? Why haven't they figured that out? I don't know. Anyway.
People like being mad online. That is a thing that we do know that people like.
Nobody hates Americans more than other Americans. It's a really weird vibe over there now.
But hey, at least McDonald's pays great.
Yeah, well, you say McDonald's came out clean too, but I read that Yelp had to shut down the reviews for that McDonald's location because everyone has to engage with it. They were on there giving it 1-star reviews saying, I got bronzer on my fries, and there was an orange wig on my tray and stuff like that. So now Yelp had to shut that down.
They got to get their interns going in and deleting all the reviews.
Exactly. That's now somebody who's like working at the level of a McDonald's employee now has to go through and sift through all these McDonald's reviews. That's the person who's suffering at the end of the day on all this stuff.
Look, it's always the interns. Speaking of which, by the way, there was the owner of TikTok, the company ByteDance. They just had a major blow up with an earnings.
Who owns that? I thought they got shut down and broken up and everything.
Not yet. The U.S. has voted that they have to divest or they will be banned, but I think that deadline is in January. So this whole thing with this intern may not have a huge impact on Americans, depending on what happens with that. But the TikTok parent company ByteDance had this intern who just got in a huge amount of trouble for sabotaging their AI development. So ByteDance itself isn't just TikTok. TikTok is one of the things they do. But their AI for TikTok would be like probably things like their a closed caption generation. I think they've got virtual assistants for creators. Things like that, the almighty algorithm
that tells teenagers that capitalism is ending and not to do your homework and all that stuff. Isn't that the accusations the government made against them?
Yeah, they're sort of like the let's make people in the West sad. But the overall accusation, I guess, is that this intern did something to sabotage months of work on their development for their own AI model that they're using to compete with other Chinese-developed AI models from some of their competitors, and just got in huge trouble. And they're like, we have alerted his university that he did not, in fact, say where he didn't work where he said he worked. He said he worked in our AI lab. He was in the commercial division.
And how did he get access to the AI code then?
It was the
I'm asking you. Can you answer these questions? Can you answer these questions?
Yeah. So that's why there's a lot of speculation going back and forth about how much of what ByteDance is saying is damage control and how much damage. But regardless, if this this kid did something to the development of their AI model, just the computing power alone is probably like in the millions of dollars of damages.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's also probably he's responsible for some amount of climate damage, for that wasted computing time. The concept of this, sometimes you hear about things, we've talked about this before. It's like, well, this thing is over. And you're like, what? I didn't know that existed. I didn't know TikTok had an AI. That scared the shit out of me. The algorithm that you're talking about makes sense. But I'm just imagining they were developing their own AI like Grok or Gronk that X has.
Does anyone use that?
What would TikTok be? They make it, they force it on you if you sign up for the checkbox. And all anybody wants on Twitter, is that blue check mark next to their name. That's what they want. Or maybe they want the ability to edit their tweet. Maybe they want that. They throw all the other stuff in, like you endorse Twitter Blue or whatever it was called. They force all that other stuff upon you, basically.
Right. Yeah. But so it's going to be really interesting to see. Maybe they'll put out their own chat. Maybe it'll have something to do with their maybe they're going to change their iconic AI voiceover. Who knows what it is?
You mean their AI named Bruh? But I had a weird thing when I was on the plane. You have to choose your entertainment, and my thing is now I download a bunch of stuff. Right? I was very conscious of when I was a grown man doing the scrolling through Reels. I do Reels. I don't do TikTok, but I realize it looks like TikTok. I just after a minute of the scrolling through the Reels, I thought, I don't want people around me to think that I'm on TikTok for an hour. Even though, by the way, I would totally spend an hour on TikTok or whatever it is.
I don't know how you spend less than an hour on TikTok at a time.
Right. A 9-hour flight can just go like that. Can I just say, by the way, London Heathrow, I got to talk about that for a second.
Okay.
London Heathrow is probably one of the most renowned airports in the world. It's really, if I'm being honest, after having flown through there on a regular basis for the last 5 years, that is a much better shopping mall than it is an airport.
Yeah.
And it's not that great of a shopping mall. Like if you want to pick up like a Cartier watch and also some high-end cigarettes, that like that's on your shopping list for the day, that's where you want to go. It's kind of shocking to me how big that airport is in terms of volume of people that go through it and all the destinations. And there's such little built out in terms of getting people around the airport. You take a bus everywhere. I landed there. I took a bus from the door of the airplane to the terminal. Then I was in the wrong terminal and I had to take another bus across the tarmac, like in the middle of all the planes. You've done this, Ashley.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes like down underneath the airport in certain areas, and you're going through these bus tunnels. I feel like other airports exist and at this scale and have figured out how to build tramways and buses and stuff, terminal to terminal to terminal, underneath the airport and underneath like all the runways and everything.
Or in the case of DFW, which I flew through on the way this time to London Heathrow, the trams you're talking about are all on top of the airport.
That's right. It's like a figure eight tram that just goes around terminal
and you
to terminal.
Zip from one thing to the next.
And it works great. And for some reason, I feel like London Heathrow just stopped developing all that stuff. And
or
they went,
ran out of room.
Nah, they're like, buses will work fine. The bus lobby at London Heathrow, real strong.
Yeah.
Big bus.
Very strong. And the whole thing about like, you're at your gate and then you go out of your gate to get on a bus to go to your plane is just like, every other airport in the world that I've been to, you have a gate that like a jetway that goes out to your plane. And like 50% of the time I fly through London Heathrow, everyone crams into a bus to then go out to the plane. It's just ridiculous.
I feel like the airport has definitely outgrown itself and they don't seem to be doing a lot to try to catch up to it.
I don't know that they can. I don't know. Like they might be landlocked at this point in time. It is in London, after all.
That's true. Well, it's outskirts. All they need to do is just buy up millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars in housing and bulldoze it all, right?
What does the Heathrow stand for? What is that? Are they in the Heathrow suburb of London?
Perhaps it was built out on a heath.
Some dude named Heath? Maybe they were sponsored by Heath candy bars when they first did it. I don't know.
Fun fact, Heath is the guy who runs Big Bus.
Speaking of branding, though, real quick, I have to admit, this time, when I got on my plane, I did check the little nameplate in the door of the plane to see if it was a Boeing plane or not.
You pulled out the back, looked down the neck, and see if the tag says Boeing on it. I understand completely.
When you go through the door of the plane, when you're walking in, because there's always a pause there when you go to do that, unless you manage to somehow be first on a plane. Please explain to me how you did that. There's little plates. I used to be able to see the manufacture date of the plane. Like they used to put that on there. And I used to say, this plane was built in 1987.
I always figured you just knew the manufacture date based on whether or not the plastic inside the airplane had started yellowing.
Yeah, well, they will refresh that every now and then, I suppose. Or whether that weird, like, steam comes out of the vents or whatever, that condensation that always scares the shit out of, like, new travelers, which I don't blame them. It looks just like smoke. But yeah, this was, I was on a Boeing plane, and I was perfectly fine, Ashley.
Well, I'm glad that you were fine because they just had another bad headline that's got their PR people literally pulling out their hair. And that was that there was a Boeing satellite that just broke up in space.
Oh, shit. What kind of satellite was that? I didn't read that.
So, yeah, this was an IS-33E. And it broke up in space, and they're now having to track basically.
Look at you over there, ready with the model number and everything. I was just asking what kind of satellite.
Isn't that the kind of satellite that it is?
No, you nailed it. You're way more specific.
It's a communication satellite. But
are there other kinds of satellite? I guess there's astronomical ones for telescopes and things, but I guess most of what they do is
communicate it in some way, right? They information go up, information go down.
And what else would you use it for, right? What else could there possibly be for satellite? Missile satellites? I guess those are not technically legal.
Maybe you launch one and then it can be the topic of your song.
Well, hey, look at that.
Satellite.
Look, congratulations, all you satellites up there. Putting your communications degree to work. Your parents were wrong, satellites. Congratulations.
It did work out for you, except for this one. So they're currently...
This one was an English major.
Right now, the U.S. Space Force is tracking a bunch of pieces of the satellite to figure out where they're going because they could now impact other things that are currently in orbit. We could get that the knock-on effect, like the premise of the movie Gravity.
Yeah.
Where it was like this one little piece of space debris basically causes this cascading issue, and then everything is a terrible,
Has
horrible,
Neil deGrasse Tyson
high
weighed in yet?
velocity mess. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Tell you, but he was very famously lampooned because he was in his know-it-all stage, which was working very well for him until it didn't. He attacked the movie Gravity and why the premise was stupid, and everyone was like, no, just shut
It's
up.
like, shh.
Yeah.
We don't think this is real. We're having a good time. Just
Right.
leave us alone.
Give me my fries with the bronzer on them.
Well, if you believe in buying the dip, it's got to be getting close to buy time for Boeing, right? I mean, things are looking up for them. They just hired a hot new intern straight out of ByteDance.
Yeah. He's got a lot of initiative. He's great. He's really going to turn things around for the company. He's got some great ideas for our code and everything.
So when you
I don't know if we are close to buying Boeing. I wouldn't be excited about it. Hey, look, I thought we were rock bottom, then a satellite blows up or disassembles itself in orbit.
look, disassembling itself in orbit could actually be a tidy little trick.
And meanwhile, you're over there. SpaceX has now said people are just cluing into the fact that SpaceX wants to add another 30,000 Starlink satellites to orbit.
I mean, they've said that for years.
But now people, it's one of those things they have been very clear that was their plan. They wanted to get to 45,000 or thereabouts with satellites, and they're at about 12. And people are just now doing the math on it going, they want to put another 30,000 satellites in orbit? So
yeah, and that's of particular concern, I believe, to astronomers who are worried that they're not going to be able to basically see through this.
we're
this
studying
satellite.
the Moors.
They're studying heaths. Basically, you're not going to be able to see out past these layers of satellites that we're building. But
Here's how Boeing can turn it around. They get with the intern from ByteDance.
Yep.
And they develop a tram system for London Heathrow. They'll be fantastic. That'll be great.
If Boeing develops a trans system for LHR, that's it. I'm all in. I'm pro Boeing. That's all you need to do.
LHR does have a tram system. People are going to point this out. They do have a tram system. It's when you're in Terminal 5. It is a tram system that goes from Terminal 5 to Terminal 5. It goes out to the B and A or C gates.
B and C gates. I thought that was buses.
It just kind of, no, there's an underground one. Remember, it has the weird hologram lady that's down there?
I do remember the weird hologram lady.
It's like something out of like a 1980s like Sega arcade game.
It's like a plastic cutout with like a projection on it.
Yeah, it looks like the holograms we should have in 2024 that were faked by the movies in the 80s. That's exactly what it looks like.
Bernie, believe it or not, that entire hologram was built by a ByteDance intern.
Wow. That kid's got a ton of initiative.
Kid's on fire. So
Somebody get that kid a phone.
So when you were flying, you're traveling, you had, let's see, your hour of Instagram reels, and then what?
So there's a thing going on right now where today, Ashley, a show that I love, Severance, is having a meeting. They're doing a teaser. Now, this is weird because Severance already did a teaser for their new season, which begins January 17th, 2025. I'll be very excited when that happens. But I have a weird thing where I don't watch teasers for things that I know I'm going to see. I started this back during the Matrix movies. I knew I was going to see the second Matrix movie. So at that point, why watch the trailer? Because then I'm just ruining things in the movie, and probably really good things that they want to put in the trailer. I'm ruining that for myself when I go see the movie. So on the plane this time, I watched like 50%ish, kind of like scrubbing. I watched the season of Severance again. Man, it's such a good show.
Just kind of like refreshing your memory.
It's going to sound weird because I said I was scrubbing through it, but from an episode to episode basis, what's really impressive about that show is how well paced that show is. It was really well paced. And in the last episode, you're wondering, like, how the hell are they going to wrap this up? And they did it really well. I watched that last episode again, but I'm probably not going to watch the Severance meeting today, even though it has my favorite character in it, Mr. Milchek.
I did see something about that. So they basically just sent out it's just an open meeting invite.
Yeah, it's very much on brand for them.
Yeah. But if they've already put out a teaser, I would tell you what, I will keep an eye on this for you, because it seems like if they've already been talking a little bit about season 2 and put out a teaser, then I'm curious what this is for.
Well, I do like when they do teasers sometimes. Like some of the ones they do for video games are great. They just put out one for, did you see they put out one for Subnautica 2?
I did see that, and I'm very excited for that.
And they just showed a little scene, which when you watch it, you have the same reaction I did. They played some of the sounds, like the oxygen low beep from Subnautica, and I immediately had this reaction to that.
Immediate stress.
Yeah,
immediate stress.
yeah.
So Subnautica is a game that I like because it's very unique in that you are never top dog. Right? You're never the top of the food chain. There's a lot of games where it's power fantasy, right? Like ultimately you're going to take on these insane forces and you're going to come out victorious and it's going to be this amazing thing. You got the big guns, you got the missiles, whatever. You can take on the world, the universe. It's all yours. Subnautica is not like that. If you go out and you're swimming in your tiny little swimsuit with your flippers out over this ocean, looking down at the black depths, and then something moves in them, and there's there's this insane stress to what's in the original Subnautica. It was like these leviathans, these enormous creatures, which technically you could theoretically kill, but you're not gonna.
Yeah, you could kill them. Yeah, didn't you get an achievement for killing them?
I've seen some videos of people doing it, but it's not the way the game is really played.
No,
right?
No.
If you do it, it's like one of those insanely rare achievements. It's for the most part, you are the food for those leviathans.
Yeah.
You are not top of the food chain. You're always a little bit stressed out with that game. I loved the experience of the first one.
But I like the subtlety of the teaser that they did because there's somebody in trouble and then somebody else shows up in a sub and then it's like, oh, they're showing you that there's multiplayer in this without explicitly saying these things. Usually in video games, they have to like lay everything out with like a bulleted list of all the improvements they're making. I like when they do teasers for video games and they're very subtle about showing you the new features.
Right, like you might see another person. How exciting.
Yeah, or I was hoping we could just be in a private ocean, whatever you'd call it. Just me and you can play finally. Because that's a game that we played
yeah, kind of like
parallel.
We played like next to each other, but we were in our own worlds and doing things and keeping our own notepads of coordinates where we had bases or whatever.
Did you ever finish it?
No. You know what? I'll put this in the linked up. I have a screenshot from Steam of the last time I played Subnautica was like a day before I went into labor with Finn.
Oh, right. That's right. That was your you couldn't move in your last trimester and you just played a lot of Subnautica.
Oh, and it was fantastic. And there's one thing left to do in that game. I have to go to this one final point. I know where it is and I will finish the game. But it's been...
You have to go in the giant sub, though, which is no fun.
Well, and also, I took the giant submarine. I managed to maneuver it down into the caverns underneath underneath the ocean. And I don't relish getting that bitch of a ship back out of the caverns. So...
You might not have to.
That's true. I can just maybe go to the next point. But I've never finished the game. So I've got one thing left to do. And I could finish it. But I've also forgotten how to play the game. And so I don't dare go back to it.
Well, I played through the end. Spoilers here for Subnautica if you haven't played before. It was kind of disappointing because you get to the end and there's this talk about maybe like leaving the planet on a spaceship. Turns out you have to take a bus to the spaceship. So it's really kind of a letdown. You got your ticket in your hand and everything. You're ready to get on the spaceship and like, we need you to board the bus.
Right as you get up into space, a Boeing satellite comes along and just explodes.
The funny thing about the London Heathrow thing too is that they do boarding by group number to get you into the lobby where the bus picks you up, and then everyone just jams on the bus. It's like, why are we going through the little hoax of their group numbers and all that stuff?
Yeah.
When we're just all going to jam in a bus together. So you were talking about rare achievements of defeating the Leviathan in Subnautica. There was another aquatic rare achievement that happened, although this one's kind of dark. Somebody got killed. A surfer got killed by a swordfish. Did you see this one?
I did see that headline.
Yeah, it's really sad, but kind of wild how rare something like that is.
Right, impaled in the chest by a swordfish. Like, don't get me wrong, the fish is named appropriately, but that's still pretty much never happens.
What the hell is a swordfish doing where people are surfing? I've never seen a swordfish like right up against the shore. Have you?
It was surfing, Bernie.
I associate that with like deep sea fishing stuff.
Well, this happened in Indonesia. And so depending on like where and how you surf, sometimes people are actually surfing pretty far offshore because they may be doing reef surfing. And so very possibly they were out a bit further from the shore than you would think. They're not just like surfing up onto a sandy beach. And there was a swordfish also out there just, having lunch at a nearby cafe, getting ready to catch the bus back to LHR. And then a surfer came along and got stuck on its nose.
Yeah, it was one hit and then gone, and they rushed her to the hospital, but they just couldn't save her. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So watch out for swordfish out there today, people.
Watch out for swordfish and satellites.
Yeah.
That's your warning.
Yeah, and I can't believe I'm assuming that's a pretty advanced surfer. If like what you're saying, if they're surfing over a reef, I couldn't imagine that either. That seems like the worst place to surf is over a giant stone and coral reef.
Yeah, fairly famous as well. She was a well-known surfing influencer from Italy.
Just crazy. That's crazy, man. You wouldn't expect that out of all the things in the ocean to get hit by a swordfish.
No, I gotta say, you've always said you never want to go where people go, oh, how do you die? And they go, oh yeah, no, I guess that tracks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No one is gonna go, oh, a swordfish, of course.
Speaking of which, when I was eating my meal on the plane, I watched the with subtitles. This is the worst way to watch this particular movie because I didn't have my headphones on because I was eating, and so I was just watching with subtitles. The Amy Winehouse biopic that they did. I don't know who the actress is that played her, but I thought, at least visually, she pulled it off pretty well. I want to go back and listen to it and see if it's like Ring of Fire with Joaquin Phoenix and see what the songs sound like.
I do feel like that's an important one to hear.
Yeah, that would be an important one to hear when you're watching a biopic about a singer. My silent review of that movie was, oh, seems pretty good. All right. Before we go too far away from lovely female artists, I do want to thank our Morning Somewhere shout from today is from Kristen Gonzalez. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen. And I would also like to thank Alexander Jacques, Tim Frost, and Jamie for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere. Thank you so much. You guys are the best.
All right. Well, that does it for us today, October 23rd. 2024. We're going to take a bus from here down to the kitchen to have breakfast. We will also be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.